Hello and welcome to Tête-à-Tête, France 24's flagship interview show. Our guest today is Ami Ayalon. He's a former head of Israel's internal security agency, the Shin Bet. He was also a commander-in-chief of the Israeli Navy, and he joins us from Kerel Meharal in northern Israel. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayalon.
Thank you for inviting me.
The war in Gaza started 9 months ago, so a very simple but important question. Do you believe the Israeli Prime Minister Binyamin Netanyahu really wants to end this war?
Well, I'm telling you the truth. I have no idea. Psychology department in our family belongs to my wife, and I cannot enter into his head. But the way he, when I hear his announcements, promise us a decisive military defeat of the Hamas. And I know Netanyahu, he is a very, very intellectual and smart person. I believe that he do not want to end the war because he understands that when we fight terror, there is no military decision, and the only way to defeat Hamas is by creating a different reality, which is diplomacy and policy. He's not doing it, so if you ask me, I have no idea what he really wants.
The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces spokesman, recently said that telling Israelis that we will destroy Hamas is throwing sand in their eyes. This was obviously authorized by the leadership of the military in Israel. What does it tell you about maybe the feelings inside the military and security apparatus in Israel right now?
No, I think that it is a worldwide phenomena. We have to understand that during the 21st century, the wars that we are fighting are totally different from the wars that we used to fight during the 19th and the 20th century. And in the wars that we are fighting today, there is no military decision. We saw it in Afghanistan, we saw it in Iraq, we saw it in Africa in several places. And in Israel, we see it every day in the West Bank, in Lebanon, and today in Gaza. So what our spokesman said, he said exactly what I think every military commander in America, in Europe, in Israel understand. And you know, it is strange that I think that only military command, or at least military commanders, understand much better the limits of the military power. They understand it much better than politicians and probably diplomats. And this is what we see. Our military generals understand that we destroyed the military capability of Hamas. We are conquering Khan Yunis for the third time, Ansariya for the second time. And even if we shall kill all Hamas activists, and we shall kill all their leaders, and we shall destroy all their command centers and military infrastructure, on the day later, or the day after, two children will take a knife, and will try to kill an Israeli. So there is no military decision in this war. Our military commanders are saying it every day, and our political leaders do not accept it.
Do you think that, in a way, Hamas has already won the war? I mean by that, bringing the Palestinian issue back front and center.
Look, as I said before, and I want to probably to repeat it, the only way to defeat Hamas is to present a better idea. And the better idea is to present a better political horizon for Israelis and for Palestinians. You know, most Palestinians are not Hamas. They do not believe in the concept of Sharia as a constitution. In the future Palestine, they do not want Hamas to be in power because Hamas is a very, very fundamental, radical religious movement, and they want the Sharia to be the constitution. Most Palestinians do not approve it. Today they support Hamas only because Hamas is fighting for their freedom. So as long as we shall not create a different horizon, a different political horizon for both of us, which is two states, Hamas will gain support, and in a way, Hamas will gain or will win this war.
We are also hearing complaints about the lack of planning for the day after in Gaza, including from the Defense Minister Yoav Gallant. Do you think that indeed there is absolutely no planning in Israel for the day after, or that there is behind the scenes maybe a possible solution for Gaza?
No, there is no any plan for the day after. I've been saying it from the second day, from the 8th or the 9th of October 23. And it is amazing. And I'm sure that there is no plan because I know why they decided. It was a cabinet decision not to talk and not to discuss and not to decide the day after. Because the moment that they start, the coalition will fall apart. And because it is obvious that in the day after, we do not want to stay in Gaza. Now, 75% of the Israelis today think that this war should ended yesterday, on the conditions that all our hostages will be brought back and we will be ready to send all the necessary Palestinian prisoners from our jails. And of course, we want to see a political process which will lead to a regional coalition that will create a real security when we shall have to confront Iran. This is what 75% of the Israelis are wishing. And unfortunately, we don't have it.
Right. But aren't you essentially preaching in the desert in Israel right now when you say you're still in favor of a two-state solution? Don't you think that given what happened on October 7th, given how it's been felt in Israel and how it's felt today, there is no way the Israelis in their majority will accept that?
Well, I totally disagree. I agree that Israelis hate the idea of two states. But finally, when you see the polls, I quoted the poll from about 3 weeks ago, in which 75% of the Israelis want to see the end of the war and the creation of this regional security treatment with Saudis, Europeans, of course, Europeans and Americans, well, Saudis, Egyptians, Jordanians, etc. And all of us understand that in order to do it, it is necessary to launch a process that will bring a reality of two states. We know that it will be difficult. We know that it will be a very long process. Probably it will take years. It will be a gradual process. But deep down in our hearts, we understand that this is the only way to create security. And let me tell you, more and more Israelis understand today that it will not bring us only security, because we understand that if we shall control, if we shall conquer all the Palestinian land, we will not be majority in our state.
Mr. Ayalon, there have been instances of violence, possibly crimes committed by Israel against Palestinian civilians, humanitarian workers, journalists, and so on. Also reports of torture in a detention camp in the Negev desert. You served for a long time. I mean, are you shocked by this? Are you surprised? Or do you fear that something is going wrong even inside the army and security apparatus in Israel right now?
Well, it's a very sensitive issue. I remind myself all the time, although I left the military 30 years ago and I left the Shin Bet 25 years ago, in time of war, we are doing horrible things. And more than once, we are losing the limits of the use of power. We saw it, during the history of all the wars. This is a history of human wars. And we saw it in Afghanistan, in Iraq, and of course in our wars. And this is why I hate to hear it, but I'm not surprised. All what I can say is that in our case, every event will be investigated, and I hope that if we shall see, or if we shall find that it really happened, we shall have to bring them to trial.
Last question, Ami Ayalon. There's also concern about a war with Hezbollah, essentially with Lebanon. Some are saying, well, Hamas is not an existential threat to Israel, but maybe Hezbollah could be. Do you share this concern?
Well, I share concern of the war with Hezbollah. It is not an existential. The only existential, when we mean, elimination of the state, is Iran. But Hezbollah is not existential war. It will be a very difficult war. Many Israelis will die. I believe that many more Lebanese will die. I think that we have to do everything in order to avoid it. And again, in order to avoid it, it is obvious today that we have to stop the war in Gaza, to cut losses. We are winning every battle in Gaza, but we understand that unless we shall use diplomacy and political process, we shall not achieve victory in this war. But Israelis understand it today. And this is why even I heard our defense minister, I know him well. He was under my command when he was in the Navy. I know that he said it. He said that we have to do everything in order to avoid war with Lebanon. I hope that he understands that in order to do it, we have to stop the war in Gaza.
As a conclusion, do you think that Binyamin Netanyahu needs to leave if there is to be peace?
Yesterday. As long as he is prime minister, we shall not have peace, we shall not have security, and day by day we are losing our democracy. And I think that 80% of the Israelis understand it today. Most of the people who voted for him want him to leave his position. He should do it immediately.
Ami Ayalon, I want to thank you very much for being our guest here on France 24 from northern Israel. Thank you all for watching this show.